Hi, everybody, and welcome to Gotham Baseball Live. I'm Mark Healey, and my co-host with me, as he is each and every week, the great Peter Schwartz. How are you today, Peter?
I'm doing great, Mark. It's great to be back with you after a week off. I had a little business trip last weekend, so nice to be back. But I really wish both teams that we talk about would be doing a little bit better, actually a lot better than what they've done. I know the Mets have a lot of issues right now. The Yankees also. If you look at either one of the two teams, the one you're more confident with that they'll get going is probably the Yankees, but obviously the Mets, there's a lot to be concerned about this team right now.
There's a lot of concerns, and the other thing too is that everybody is picking sides. It's like, well, they shouldn't have gotten rid of Pete Alonso and Brandon Nimmo and Jeff McNeil, and you know, uh, look, 2025 is over. Whatever the team now is that's what the team is. So, and if you try to be reasonable and say it's still early, people are like, well, you're just shilling for David Stearns. Look, I had a lot to say about a lot of the moves that David Stearns made.
Yeah.
I wasn't sold on Polanco. I wasn't sold on letting Brandon Nimmo walk or trading Brandon Nimmo for Marcus Semien. But look, they're on the team now, so what's the alternative? You want them to do well, right? Obviously, nothing is going well right now. Even when they have good pitching performances, and they've had quite a few, the team just hasn't hit at all. And then when you, on the flip side with the Yankees, their offense, has been inconsistent, but they've been getting good pitching performances. They've been getting good offense from a couple of players. But then Mike Trout, comes to Yankee Stadium and goes bananas.
Yeah. It's interesting with the Yankees because I still think they're the best team in the American League East. I still think they will get it together. I still think that Brian Cashman will fix the bullpen. He always seems to do that. And you have to understand something too about the Yankees. They've got some reinforcements on the way. And we're going to see a big one tonight playing for Double A Somerset, and that's Garrett Cole getting a rehab start tonight. Anthony Volpe is going to play again. Last night he went 1 for 3 for Somerset, and Carlos Rodon could be right around the corner as well. So I'm not as concerned about the Yankees as I think Met fans would be concerned about the Mets. But it is a little disconcerting about the inconsistency of this offense. They're either scoring a lot of runs or they could go 3 days without scoring a run. So that's a little disconcerting. I do think they'll get it together. As far as the Mets go, you talked before about like this is the team. I mean, they could always make a trade and you can adjust, a handful of players, but it's not like it's MLB The Show or fantasy baseball where you can get rid of a whole team and restart from scratch. It's not how it works. But you look at the offseason acquisitions, and you look at Semien and Bichette and Robert Polanco, they're hitting a combined 212. David Stearns' offseason bat acquisitions are hitting a combined 212, and that's obviously the biggest problem right now. But like you said before, the team is what it is, and you'll have to see how it goes. But from the Yankees' perspective, I think they'll be okay, and obviously the reinforcements are on the way.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, people were criticizing the Yankees for running it back, right? The quote unquote running it back, which we've talked about with some of our guests, including Susan Waldman.
Right.
And, here's the thing. If I'm a Yankee fan, yeah, I'm not as concerned because I know what these guys are capable of. I know what these guys can do. I know that there's help on the way, sure, but I also know that these guys historically do play well. With the Mets, you don't know that because they're all new guys.
Mm-hmm.
And, a lot of the predictions that some of us made, like, Polanco's never played first base. He does have an injury history. Luis Roberts actually been pretty good, I think, overall. I mean, I think he's been fine, but Marcus Semien, can't buy a base hit. And, and Bo Bichette, I mean, again, he has a history of being a really clutch hitter, but we don't know him. He's never played in New York. And when these guys never play in New York and they're on the team and they're all first timers, the confidence level isn't there. And a lot of I want to say the majority, but a lot of Met fans weren't happy with a lot of Stearns' moves. namely Pete Alonso, letting him
Right.
walk. So, that's where the level. I think they're both in the same boat as far as the one thing they didn't want to do is get off to a bad start. But with the Mets, starting their series with the Cubs today, later on today, Wrigley, hopefully, the team I hate the most in major leagues, hopefully, they bounce back on the north side of Chicago. Who do the Yankees have next?
Yankees are going to host the Royals this weekend
Ah,
at Yankee Stadium. So they've dropped 7 of 9, and hopefully they can get things turned back in the right direction. They're going to have Cam Schlittler on the mound tonight, so it's a pretty good guy to have on the mound to try and get things going in the right direction. So again, I feel like they'll get it together. Look, you'd like to see Ben Rice slumped a little bit after his hot start, but this team, Bill Parcells, football coach, used to say, "You are what you are." And Michael Kay likes to say, he's going to play to the back of his baseball card. And I think ultimately, when it's all said and done, this team's going to play to the back of their baseball cards, and they're going to be a playoff team. I still think they'll win the American League East. And again, you look forward to not just the guys coming out of the slump, but you look forward to. It's one thing to say Garrett Cole and Carlos Rodon and Clark Schmidt are going to come back, and I believe all three will. But what it also will do, it will strengthen, the back end of the rotation will be better. And
right.
guys who get bumped from the rotation will flip into the bullpen. So you're going to see this pitching staff get better. Will there be trades and changes? Obviously. I still think Jason Dominguez is going to find his way up here at some point. But as far as the Mets are concerned, we're at that point of the season now, and I think this started during the offseason, but obviously a lot of the fire is on David Stearns for making these moves. But also, and I think you plan on bringing this up today as well, but Carlos Mendoza is on the hot seat, and
He asked it.
you
Right.
you just feel like if they don't get this turned around soon, and maybe even as early as this weekend, you're going to start to hear rumblings. And the name I would keep an eye on is a name that's going to be honored by the Mets this year, and I think Carlos Beltran is the guy. I think if they make a move, I think he'd be the guy they go to.
It's certainly possible. And, today's a big game. This series is big, for the Mets, of course. But this today's game's big. Senga on the mound. He's got to bounce back from his last start. They revamped the lineup. Lindor down to third. Benj is now the leadoff hitter. So we're gonna see how that goes. Look, if Senga has a good game today, if the lineup scores some runs, things can turn around quickly. We all see, not only is losing contagious, but so is winning. So we'll see what happens in Wrigley today. If you can't hit in Wrigley, then there's definitely a problem.
Yeah,
We have
there's
a
no
great,
question.
yeah, we
No
have a great
question.
guest today. Our good buddy, our old buddy John Jastremski, and he is going to be on board with us right now. There he is. Let's see, JJ, is JJ ready to go? He's always ready to go, JJ. There he
There
is.
he is.
Was
What's up,
there ever
pal?
a doubt? Come on, boys. Never a doubt.
Hey,
JJ,
JJ.
it's good to see you again. It's been a while. We used to share a lot of time together at on the 11th on the 10th floor at 340. I almost forgot what floor at WFAN was on. I haven't been there in a
To
while,
be
but
honest, Peter, I would have forgot as well. I know 345, but I would not have remembered the floor, full disclosure.
yeah,
It's been a while for me, too.
yeah. Well, it's been a few months. I'm only there when Boomer and Geo need me to fill in because there's no more updates. But it's great to see you, and Mark and I have been looking forward to having you on the show. And um, I want to start here before we talk about baseball. How has father life been for you? Because
Well,
it's
it's
great.
funny you say that.
Yeah,
It's funny you say that because right now, our little office, so we live in a two-bedroom in Brooklyn. The office is a shared bedroom. So the minute I finish up with you guys, we make this room super dark. We turn the sound machine on, and it's nap time. So
Nice.
it's alternating schedules between baby and dad, and who gets the room. So that's how fatherhood's going. But it's been great. It's hard to believe my daughter's going to be a year old. I mean, I don't need
Wow.
to tell the two of you guys because you guys are dads. You get it. You understand. But everybody told me, oh, it goes so fast. It goes so
Yeah,
fast. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Yeah, yeah. But
yeah,
when you're in it and you experience it, you totally get it.
yeah. That
Yeah,
Kenny Chesney song, "Don't Blink."
right. Well, hey, I could. My oldest just got married. My youngest is graduating college in a month. So, trust me, it does go fast. It does, JJ. I guess we'll get right into it. I'm going to ask about the Mets first. You know, Look, I don't think it would be fair because I think this is David Stearns' team. He's the one who built it. He's the one who constructed it. He's the one who purged the coaching staff and kept Carlos Mendoza on board. But is Carlos Mendoza really on the hot seat? Is this a move that you could see if like the Mets are like 10 games under 500 as we get closer to like Memorial Day? Do you think that David Stearns would fire Carlos Mendoza in season?
I'm not there yet, Mark, but you have to ask me that question in about a month because let's just peel back the layers here for a second. Look at the Mets schedule after they play the Cubs. And I know the argument's going to be, hey, JJ, with the way the Mets are playing right now, it doesn't matter who's on the schedule. They look awful. They're not winning games. But you have to figure there's some sort of a market correction coming. And when I see opponents like the Colorado Rockies, like the Washington Nationals, these are teams, in theory, fellas, you should be able to go and get some wins against. You get Juan Soto back in the lineup. You kind of get a sense and a feel for how it looks over those next few weeks and see if things can stabilize. The example you gave, though, Memorial Day weekend, double-digit games under 500, all bets are off, fellas, if that's the case. Because,
Mm-hmm.
look, you could try to spin it any other way. And I know some of the coaches that were fired were inherited coaches. They weren't guys that Carlos Mendoza brought on his staff. Jeremy Hefner had been there. Eric Chavez was there with Buck Showalter. So not exactly, hey, bringing in all my guys. But at the same time, when I see major changes on a coaching staff, you collapse the way the Mets collapsed. And oh, by the way, you play like crap for a 2-month period,
Mm-hmm.
all bets are off.
JJ, when Steve Cohen bought the Mets a few years ago, he was like the knight in shining armor for Met fans after what they went through with the Wilpons, and there was a lot of excitement. And I think the bloom is off the rose a little bit when you look at what the Mets have done, the last couple of years. And the thing that's really strange about Steve Cohen is that you social media is great. It can also be really, really bad. And I think a big problem with Steve Cohen, and I think he needs to shut up on social media. I think the fans have had just about enough of, everything is going to be okay and this, that, and the other thing. What are your thoughts on Steve Cohen and his role in where the Mets are right now?
Well, listen, you can't compare the ownership. The ownership's off the charts with what Cohen's doing from a financial standpoint, as far as revamping the minor league system, as far as the infrastructure he's trying to build within the team. Like that is a noticeable, sizable difference, Peter. Here's the problem that he ran into. I think if there's one mulligan that he'd like back, it's this idea that he said, hey, I want to win a title within my first 5 years.
Right.
And I think that's sort of a benchmark. And I get it. Like we all want to have goals. We all want to shoot for the stars. We want to have that sort of positive, optimistic type of viewpoint. But when you throw something like that out there into the universe, you're forever kind of measured on
Yeah.
it. It's something that's going to hang over you. So I don't know if Steve will admit this or not, but I think if there's one thing he'd like back in his tenure now is owning the Mets. Because listen, I think the Twitter stuff, it maybe comes out of boredom. Maybe it's, hey, I just feel like I want to say something. Maybe he's just, hey, a read react guy. I don't know. I get the point because sure, like in theory, you would want to have a situation where, hey, I'm quiet. Things are bad. I'm quiet. I don't want to ruffle any feathers. I don't want to upset the apple cart. But you're on the team. You know what? Guys on the team, from my standpoint in the content business, I love it because it gives me something to talk about. It's
Right.
fun. And he cares. Like, there's no denying the fact. Steve Cohen, he wants to win so freaking badly because he's a Met guy. And this idea that he can be, like you mentioned, the knight in shining armor for a franchise that hasn't won since 1986. Like, I think his like dream is having that parade and he's walking up the steps of City Hall and he's holding up the World Series trophy, and he's like, I got you. I got you. I got you. We did it. Like, that would mean more to him than anything. And I think ultimately he's going to get there. But I just think he's realizing, and maybe David Stearns is realizing, was not going to happen overnight. And that's the transformation you've seen with this team. But when your payroll's $300+ million, nobody wants to see her patience. You know that better than anybody, Mark.
Yeah, I do. And, and it's funny, JJ, like I think Steve Cohen was reaching into the Frank Cashin, pitch to Nelson Doubleday when he got the job, we'll win in 5 years. And Davy Johnson's, we're not just going to win, we're going to dominate. And I thought maybe he thought that like history would repeat itself. If you speak it into existence, it'll happen. But I don't blame him. I'm not holding it. I'm not holding that to him. To me, it's night and day. It's a completely different situation under this ownership. David Stearns is clearly the guy in charge, and there's no palace intrigue. There's none of that nonsense. There's no owner's son going around throwing his weight around. So there's none of that. So to switch gears. With the on the field performance, Mets are, shaking it up today. Senga will be on the mound, Kodai Senga against the Cubbies later today. Lindor's now in the third hole. Benj is leading off. Do you think that this is a panic move, changing the lineup around, or do you think this is something that probably should have happened already?
I have no problem with it. When you're scuffling as badly as the Mets are scuffling, sometimes change for change's sake is a good thing. And I want to go back a couple of years ago, because the Mets were going bad. They made a lineup change, and it kind of sparked their season, if you remember. They put Francisco Lindor into the leadoff spot. They moved Brendan Nimmo into that 2 spot, and it kind of got him going in 2024. It kind of just changed the vibe and the look of the lineup, the feel, all that comes with it. And I know Lindor's had great success in the leadoff spot, but he's going so poorly right now. Hey, maybe let's just put him in an RBI spot. Let him have a different approach. Let's try something different. You can make the argument, Mark, this should have happened sooner. But you know what? It's never too late. Like, it's not like the season is over. It's not like, right, we really missed the boat on this. Right. Let's see it. Hey, the offense has been so bad. Carlos Mendoza probably got on that flight and said, we're doing something different on Friday. Good. Let's see how it works.
And with Lindor, it's interesting when you see fans' reaction to what's going on. And obviously, as you just mentioned, he's scuffling. He's just, they need to do something to get him going. But the criticism from the fans and even some members of the media about, if he's going through such a bad time, why is he smiling? Why is he being so optimistic? And there's a couple of people that are really, really on him for doing that. I mean, why wouldn't you? Like, why do you have to be completely down in the dumps when you're going bad? I like the fact that he's smiling and he's trying to keep going, trying to stay optimistic to try and get out of the slump.
Yeah, he's trying to be the guy that he's always been throughout his career, Peter. And that's the thing with Francisco Lindor. And look, Francisco Lindor 2 years ago had arguably a top 3 offensive year in the history of the New York Mets. He carried the team. He was the runner-up for the MVP. What's killed me about Lindor this year, fellas, the slow starts are no surprise. Listen, this goes back to his time in Cleveland. I don't know if it's the cold weather. I don't know if it's routine. Some are going to say it's this hamate bone. Whatever it might be, he never gets off the fast starts. That's just how it is. The mental mistakes are what have been infuriating with Lindor. Not knowing how many outs there are, the base running, defensive miscues. That's the stuff that, to me, I circle. That's alarming. Whoa. This guy is supposed to be one of the leaders of your team. This guy is supposed to be one of the, hey, we don't have to worry about him. We don't have to worry about him on the bases. We don't have to worry about him in the field. The hitting will be there. It's going to come, but he's going to be locked in. He hasn't looked locked in. And I don't have an answer for why, but it's something he needs to figure out. And it's something Carlos Mendoza has to figure out. I thought Mendoza, after the Dodger game when they got swept, I thought his tone, I thought his rhetoric, I thought his message was great. But it's all about how your guys respond. It's all well and good if you go after the game and have the right message to people like you and me, but am I going to see results? Is there going to be a different level of focus from guys like Lindor and the entire team? Better be.
Yeah, it's definitely concerning the mental errors, the mental mistakes, because usually his whole career he's never been a guy that's brought his slumps out into the field or on the base paths. So definitely something to keep an eye on, and hopefully this lineup switch, going down to the three hole, hopefully that sparks something as well. But here's the thing too: the same fans that were screaming and yelling about Jeff McNeil you know, you know, cursing after every bad at bat and throwing his bat and throwing his glove. These are the same fans that are getting on Lindor now for smiling. So,
Well, it just goes to show you, Mark, you can't
your,
please anybody.
that's
And
right.
here's the moral of the story. When you're winning, everything's great.
Yeah.
McNeil can drop every F-bomb imaginable. Lindor can smile. The mental mistakes, even as bad as they've been. I said this yesterday on TV. Don't get me wrong, they're inexcusable. They're unacceptable. But if the Mets are scoring some runs, they could get masked a little bit. They're not as heightened because, hey, there's a little bit more of a margin for error. There's no margin for error when you're scoring one run a game, right?
Yeah.
What's the margin of error? Zero.
Nothing.
Right. Exactly.
JJ, let's flip over to the Yankees. And I was talking with Mark at the top of the show. When you look at the two teams, obviously they're both struggling. But if there's one of the two that I think you would have more confidence in that they'll get things together, I think it is the Yankees, especially since the reinforcements are coming, whether it's Garrett Cole you're talking about, Rodon, and Anthony Volpe's getting some minor league rehab starts too. When you look at the Yankees so far, 10-9 through 19 games, what's your thumbnail sketch on them? And is there reason to be optimistic as a Yankee fan that they're going to get this thing turned around?
Yeah, look, I think the bottom of the order is questionable, but I think you're seeing throughout the sport offense is down. And it's all about those top guys for the Yankees. I'm talking about masking deficiencies. When Aaron Judge is hitting and he's starting to get hot, when Cody Bellinger is going, when Stanton is going, when the Yankees have that 1 through 5 firing on all cylinders, okay, Jose Caballero is not as heightened. Ryan McMahon, who, by the way, stinks, is not as heightened. So the 1 through 6 really need to get their acting gear. And there's two guys in the lineup I'm looking at specifically. Trent Grisham, who has not done very much other than the 2-homer game he had against the Angels, and Jazz Chisholm, who was proclaiming he was going to go 50-50 at the start of the year. Well, it'd be nice if you hit number one. So, there's a problem there. Those two guys I need a lot more out of. If there's cause for positivity, I think the Yankees will start scoring some runs. If I'm going to be negative, the bullpen stinks. Now, Cashman has a reputation for finding guys, so I'm sure they'll probably add 2 or 3 relievers over the course of the year, and you're like, who the hell is this guy? I've never heard of him. And by July or August, you're like, yeah, I want to see that guy. He's good. Like, they have a knack for that because, hey, nobody knew who Clay Holmes was a couple of years ago. Yankees added him. He was lights out. Luke Weaver is another guy. Failed starter, comes to the Yankees, then he's closing out games in the postseason. So I will give them the benefit of the doubt on the bullpen, but I do think it's fair to say it's a liability at the moment, and there's a lot of work that needs to be done. The American League is weak. If we're being perfectly honest, I think the Blue Jays are dealing with a hangover. I know they've had some injuries, but I think it's problematic for them. I don't like the Red Sox team at all. Their biggest threat in the division, fellas, in my opinion, is Baltimore. I think Baltimore's going to have a good season. I like their youth. I think the Alonso move has helped them, even though he hasn't fully gotten going yet. And their pitching is better than it was a year ago. So that, to me, is the threat for the Yankees. But, guys, let's be honest on this with the Yankees. They can win the division. They can make the playoffs. They can win 105 games. They can win 89 games. I really don't care. It's about what they do when they get into the postseason. It's kind of like what we're dealing with the Knicks, right? The Knicks, they can win as many games they want in the regular season. They're judged on what they do right here, right now, starting on Saturday. That's the deal with the Yankees. Get in and then show me in October why it's going to be different.
Period. End of story.
Of course, and that's the way it should be. I mean, if you're a Yankee fan, it's World Series or bust. Just because ownership may have changed that message, that's you're never going to change the Yankee fan perspective on that. And I've always respected that about Yankee fans. I've always respected it. Like when I covered the Yankees and just that sense of, this is what we're here for. And look, I respect it. I totally get it. And it is, it's the truth. So, for folks who don't know, JJ is also a columnist for my paper here in Rockaway.
That's right. Family business, Mark Healey.
That's right. And we had both of our columns back to back today on the same page. We're both about the Knicks, so I'm glad you brought it up. Anyway, as far as the Yankees are concerned, one thing, I wrote about this last year when the Yankees signed Fried, that, I compared it to the David Price deal, because at that time when the Red Sox signed David Price, they gave him the biggest deal ever for a left-hander. And so, when the Yankees signed Fried to this contract, it was the biggest contract at that point for a left-hander. And, David Price, like Fried, had a fantastic first year. And, he's pitched well. But I noticed the last couple of starts a little bit more hittable than usual. And I don't know if that's, the mantle of being the ace is finally starting to wear on him a little bit, or just a statistical anomaly. How do you feel about Fried? Do you think that he's going to benefit obviously from Cole coming back? Are you worried about him at all?
Not really. I didn't love his start against the Angels, Mark. You get a lead, you want to go and win that game.
Right.
The other day against Tampa, he pitched him incredibly bad luck, and he still found his way to pitch into the 8th inning. So here's my biggest key with Fried. Is he healthy? Is he taking the ball every 5th day? Right. If the answer to those questions is yes, the guy's going to perform because he's done nothing but perform. You want to tell me he's not going to be as good as he was a year ago? Sure. I think he was outstanding last year. And as far as pressure of being the ace, to me, there would have been a lot more of that sort of sentiment and questioning a year ago when Garrett Cole in spring training goes down for the year. And he handled that mantle and he handled that pressure beautifully from Jump Street. So I, for one, don't really work myself up too much about that. Bad start. Now we're going to watch him the next time he's out to see, hey, how you bounce back. How do you respond? But listen, I have plenty of concerns about the 2026 New York Yankees. For the moment, at least, Mark Healey. Max Fried is not one of them right now. We'll see.
Okay.
No question. One quick last one from me, JJ. A lot of Yankee fans' eyes are on George Lombard playing down at Somerset Double-A. He had a couple of more hits last night. From what you've seen and heard about him, how excited should Yankee fans be about the future with George Lombard on the horizon?
So, Peter, I saw him for the first time at spring training. So, you don't want to get nuts with young players. They're going up against AAA guys. How much stock do you put in spring training games? You want to tread lightly. But there was a smooth, confident nature to his game. So anytime I see a guy where it looks comfortable and it looks like at ease, he's in rhythm, I'm like, okay, looks like he belongs. As far as what that means coming up to the big league level, I always tread lightly with these Yankee prospects because I don't need to lecture the two of you guys on this. Yeah. There have been so many guys over the years that I've been super hype about, and they have fallen flat on their face. That's why even with Ben Rice, last year, I was like, yeah, let's see. And now, he's hitting the crap out of the ball. The swing is perfect for Yankee Stadium. That guy is going to be a keeper. That guy needs to play every single day. He needs to hit behind Aaron Judge. He needs to go and be an absolute beast. But when it comes to Lombard, yeah, cautious. The way I would phrase it, cautious optimism.
I just needed to know before I invest in his rookie cards.
Why not? I'm not going to talk you out of that. I want to be glass half full, not glass half empty. And listen, that left side of the infield is pretty available. That's the good news, Peter Schwartz. It's not like there's Derek Jeter and Alex Rodriguez blocking you on the left side. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's definitely something they're going to have to figure out because, as you said, Ryan McMahon is just not getting it done. And I like him. I always did like him as a player, but he just can't hit a lick. And
I thought he would hit at Yankee Stadium. He's a lefty bat. I'm like, okay, you're not playing him against lefties, short porch. Amazing glove at third base. Can't deny that. He's one of the best defensive third basemen in the sport.
No question.
But you can't be hitting 120 with one home run and OPS in the 4 or 5s.
No.
Sorry. Can't do it.
Nope. Hey, JJ, really appreciate you making the time today to be with us here on Gotham Baseball Live. All the best to you, my friend. I look forward to reading you every week in the Wave. JJ, you're the best, pal. Thank you so much for joining with us.
The two of you, my absolute pleasure. Keep up the good work. I'll be listening. I'll be following. Keep kicking ass.
Thanks,
Thanks, boys.
JJ.
Thanks,
Good to
JJ.
see you.
You're the
See you,
best,
boys.
buddy.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Anytime.
You got it.
Later, guys.
JJ's great. I love JJ.
He's awesome. Hey, really quick, Mark, I remember when I met him for the first time, he had won the WFAN, contest to host a show.
Yes.
And I remember when he started doing that, I was covering the Jets at the time for the Fan, and he came up to meet me. He got a credential for a Jet game, and he came up to meet me, and it took me 5 minutes to realize that this guy had something special and was going to have a great career. And sure enough, he did blossom into an unbelievable, talent, whether it be hosting a show, the work he does on SNY. He's awesome, and I'm glad to call him one of my good friends in the business.
I am as well. I've known JJ for a long time now, and I edit his column every week, and we've known each other. When my book came out, he had me on the Fan to promote the book, and I've done a podcast with him here at the Wave. So it's great. JJ's great. You're great, and hopefully, Peter, our teams get their heads out of their butts and play some winning baseball this weekend.
No question about it, and hopefully both teams do get going without question. And next time you and I are going to chat, it will be in 2 weeks because I'll be away on a football trip again next week. By the way, I'm going to be checking out an Iowa Cubs game while I'm in Iowa doing a football game next week, so I'll report back on that. But enjoy the show next week without me, and I'll see you in 2 weeks.
Actually, I just realized I'm not going to be around either to do the show because I'm going to be in Saratoga for the New York Press Association. So maybe I'll do like a remote or something for the folks so that we still have something on that day. But I'll let people know during the course of the week if that's going to happen. But it's always a pleasure to do the show with you, Peter. Yeah. And I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
We'll reconvene in 2 weeks. Hopefully Mets and Yankees get on a roll.
Hope so. Take care, buddy.
Take care.
All right, we're good. We're out.
Sounds good.
All right, buddy.
All right, I'll talk to you during the week.
Yes,
right.
absolutely.
Thanks.
Take
Bye.
care.
Bye.